welcome to the Nationwide Postgame. The Arrowhead Invitational continues as scheduled. This Kansas City Chiefs team continues its march towards potential history as it looks for its third consecutive Super Bowl championship. Patrick Mahomes exchanging some love with the kingdom, as they are known. This is a special place with fans that I think have an appreciation that they are in the middle of the sweet spot. A franchise that continues to deliver over and over again as Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs get out of the cold, and they will celebrate at least 60 more minutes for C.J. Stroud and this Houston team. A tip of the cap for certain as they came in, battled the elements, battled the Chiefs, and they did indeed battle for 60 strong minutes. In the end, they end up on the wrong end of it. But for the second consecutive year, they make the playoffs and win a playoff game, come up short on the road against the 1 seed. How are you? Hi, I'm Scott Van Pelt. Ryan Clark will be with me in a bit. One of the stars of the game for the Chiefs will visit with us, I believe, as well, if time allows. And we will visit as well with Joe and Troy in the booth in just a moment. As for the key sequences in this game, the Texans trailed by 1 after they got the ball coming out of the locker room at halftime, scored, and then missed the extra point. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on 3rd and goal. And Mahomes finds Kelce in the end zone. He's wrapped up. Mario Edwards Jr. is there, but 87 is on the other end. Travis Kelce, who trails up against the play clock, got sacked. They trail by 11, and then Stroud goes down here. It's Karlaftis, who lived in the backfield all game long for the Chiefs here. Fairbairn comes on, had a rough day kicking in this win. This kick is blocked. Leo Chenal gets through there. It's 23-12 at that point. The Chiefs take an intentional safety. I'll promise you, Joe, Al Michaels wasn't the only person paying attention to that one. Significant to some, as the saying goes. But regardless of the margin, in the end, what matters is the Chiefs had more, and they head to the AFC Championship game for a staggering 7th consecutive season. Patrick Mahomes matches Joe Montana for the second most playoff wins all time, trailing only Tom Brady. He gets there faster, by the way, than Brady did by about 5 years. And Mahomes and Andy Reid improved to 11-2 at Arrowhead in the postseason. Up to the booth to visit with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And men, at the end of this game, all I can do is shake my head and think, if you're the Texans and you look at this box score and you look at how you played on balance, you played incredibly well. But Joe, I think it just speaks to how perfect you've got to be if you want to beat this Chiefs team. And at this point, I honestly don't know what you have to do. I wonder where you land with that.
Yeah, I mean, same spot as you do. You have to be perfect. You can't make special teams errors. I mean, it happened right out of the gate with a 63-yard return by Remigio to start the ball game, and then a penalty on special teams, and right from the opening kickoff.
Sure.
There they are inside the red zone. So yeah, you have to be perfect. Mahomes, Reid, Spagnuolo, they just know how to win in January and in February, and they've done it again.
I don't want to oversimplify, Troy, but you made the comment after the Fairbairn missed extra point following what was an emphatic drive coming out of the locker room. You're tying the game, but then you don't. And now instead of being even, you're still behind. I just wonder how demoralizing it is to have a 10-minute drive and still be trailing this Chiefs team.
Yeah, totally demoralizing. Hard to put into words exactly what that feeling is on the sidelines for everybody. You could see it. We showed the faces of D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud, and it's just a huge letdown. Here you have this really good drive against a good defense, hard to do, and you score, and yet you still come up short. Same thing happens when you do that as an offense and you don't come away with 3 points on a field goal attempt. So, you know, the difference in this game, winning and losing, wasn't all that much. But, you know, as Joe said and you said as well, you just cannot fail to make the opportunities when they present themselves. And that's what it requires if you're going to beat this Kansas City team in the postseason.
It was interesting on Countdown. I think Marcus Spears and Kirk Cousins both alluded to this Steve Spagnuolo defense, and he gets so much credit, and deservedly so. But he has an uncanny ability, doesn't he, Troy, to bring the right pressure at the right moment, right? The game-deciding moment, that 4th and 10, and all of a sudden there's a pressure that this Texans O-line, which struggled most of the year, just couldn't account for. It just seems like he always has the call, and he's got the personnel to make the call, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's one, and that's the key. I mean, whether you're talking about offense or defense, it's one thing to know offensive football or defensive football, but when you call those things is more important than knowing what you're doing. And he seems to just know the right moments at the right time. He gives a lot of different looks. In the fourth quarter, when the game was obviously in the balance and they needed to make plays, he did what you expect him to do. He leaned on the pressure and brought the extra blitzes. And then even late, when you fully expect him to bring the pressure because that's what he's done and that's what he's known for, then he backs off and he rushes 4. So he constantly keeps you on your heels, and it's hard then as an offensive play caller to be able to call the protections and get the looks and the things that you need in order to be able to make the plays down the field.
Well, we've got Travis Kelce walking over to visit with us, and I hope, fellas, that someplace sunny and warm's calling your name. It's such a treat to get a chance to do this with you. Travel well, and I look forward to crossing paths somewhere down the road. Congrats on what is always a brilliant season.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Best to you,
so
buddy.
much.
Thank you.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman as we welcome the Yeti himself, Big 8-7. Congratulations on the victory. Thanks for taking a minute on a cold day. Forgive me while I throw the gloves on. I'm embarrassed to do this in front of you. You're wearing shorts out here. We're laughing with your brother. By the way, he told us that your name was Charles in the neighborhood. You told everybody your name was Charlie.
I didn't think Travis was a cool enough name, so I told everybody Charles.
Okay.
My mom found out about that at the block party, but
okay.
Yeah, you already know.
Well,
I'm proud of Travis now, though. Shout out to Mama Kelce.
As you should be. Yet another playoff performance where you just seem to be able to dial it up on call. And I don't know, you're rolling your eyes at me, but man, like this time of year is your time of year. At this stage of a career where there's nothing left to prove, what do 60 minutes like this for you and your team represent?
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're going to step out here on the football field, you always got something to prove. And, I wish it was something like it was just a flip of the switch. I could just turn it on like that. But I think it was everybody in that building all week long, really the past 2 to 3 weeks, figuring out how to get our bodies the best rest and ready for the playoffs for a run like this. And, man, we came out firing on all cylinders today, and it felt really good, man.
All right, so this guy, Mahomes, pretty good. The plays that he seems to make over and over and over again, I just shrug. You've been with him for years now. And the biggest moments, what allows him to have the best moments?
Man, I'll tell you what, man. He puts in so much work, man, from the mental aspect throughout the week. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, while we're out on the field, he makes sure he gets all the throws. And I try and match that energy for him and try and be there for him at all the times because it's Patrick Mahomes, man. Anything can happen at any point in time.
What did it require to beat this Texans team? Because just watching from where I'm sitting, man, they battled for 60 and they made you earn every inch. I have tons of respect. I'm sure you do as well. What do they ask of your team today?
They're extremely tough individuals, and when they play together like that, it can be really hard to beat. And I think that has a lot to do with their head coach. And just how that trickles down with the leadership and the mentality. And
right.
They got a great quarterback, man. I think CJ is going to be unbelievable throughout the rest of his career and really take the bull by the horns. But I think tonight, man, Arrowhead was rocking so much that we just had a little bit more energy, baby. Yeah,
the Kingdom. We talked about it when we visited with you early this year on a trip out here. I mean, we've been here now 3 times, and now it's the middle of January. It's freezing cold, and there's only 120 more minutes of football left for anybody. And so now we can narrow this down, right? When we were talking early in the season, that's way down the road. But, like, they're chanting three-peat. Travis, right in front of you, man. Like, the ability to compartmentalize and do what has to happen, you've earned these next 60. It's either Buffalo or Baltimore. What goes into the next step that has to happen, understanding it as well as your team does?
Well, in the playoffs, everything gets faster and everything gets, a little bit more physical as you as you get further along in the playoffs. So the AFC Championship is always going to be one of the biggest challenges that you ever have. And looking at who the opponents would be, those are 2 of the best teams in the National Football League.
For sure.
And they got a lot of talent all across the board, but especially at that quarterback position. So anything can happen. And how you get ready for it is you don't look ahead. You focus on what you can do throughout the week to get your body ready, get mentally ready, and get ready to go out there and just play your tail off for the guy next to you.
You and I had this conversation after the Super Bowl last year, and I'm going to ask you some version of the same thing now. Just on the back nine of a career, right? We're not on the 18th hole, I don't think, but I mean, we're on the back nine. The appreciation for this, like this is the sweet spot. We were talking about this as a group. This just doesn't happen. You all have a chance to do something that's never been done. How do you remind yourself to remain in this moment right now and appreciate what this is that you all are doing, because it potentially has never been done before?
I think we're fortunate that we got a lot of great character guys in the building. I think Brett Veach, Clark Hunt, and Coach Reed has done an unbelievable job of bringing in the right people with the right mentality to not get too complacent. And on top of that, as the years have gone on, you know, we only got here by focusing on the task at hand. And right now, you know, this win was great. We're going to enjoy this one tonight, but the task at hand is going to be that AFC Championship. You don't get a three-peat by looking past that.
I know that you sat with Boomer and you looked at the numbers, and I mean, you realize you only trail Jerry Rice in terms of yards receiving and touchdowns in the postseason. I mean, like the kid and back in the Heights, and
it's a crazy feeling, man.
But it's the truth. I mean, I must be. You know what? You should talk about that with your brother on your podcast. I don't want to milk all this good content. Your brother would get after me if I don't do that. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to visit.
You're the best, big guy. Shout out to Jerry too, man.
Travis Kelce, his best performance of the season when they needed it most. It's what he does. It's what they do. And the Chiefs move on 23-14. They await the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore next week as the kingdom roars for, as his quarterback calls him, big.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn, mình lại quay lại đây. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tô màu những sản phẩm này đây. Các bạn hãy xem thật kỹ nha.